Okay. And I do need to post the recording for Monday. I'll be able to get that up right after class today. Um, we're going to look in a little bit about the audio side of things first, and then a little bit dealing with possibilities or some options of a start screen and any other questions that start up or that come up. So what I'm looking at right here is example B if you look under the week 9, the sound in Create.js folder of that um, under the project 1.5 tutorial, go into the sound in Create.js. And then this is example B that I'm going to start with because it has both a background sound and some sort of an on-click sound. And an on-click sound is just really a sound that's, in this case, it's like when you click the mouse, but typically in your game, most likely you're going to have those sounds tied to a collision would be the most obvious thing. Although you might have a sound that plays whenever you press a keyboard, or if you click a mouse, like it could be a walking sound or a moving sound that gets started or stopped based on that. So there's other ways of thinking about it. This one is done just with a click. So the first thing, the important thing to remember is that we're going to have a preloader that's going to load in all of our files in advance so that they're ready to be launched and ready to be played right when we want them. So it doesn't cause the computer to sort of hiccup trying to load something while also trying to play it back. So in this case, all of this stuff you can just copy and paste, so it's going to be the same, but it just sets up a queue and then says the queue can use the MP3 extension if the file type down here .ogg isn't working. It installs a Create.js plugin for sound. It adds an event listener saying that when the queue is complete, then you'll run this handle complete function. And then there's the manifest, which is the list of all the files that are going to be preloaded. And these preloaded files can also be images. So if you wanted to preload some really large detailed artwork that you want to have instantly fly up, this would be a good place to do that. Occasionally I'm noticing when you have things posted up on the web through, like if you posted them up through CyberDuck, even the background image, sometimes if you're loading it remotely, it might take, a second and then it appears. So you see the characters first because they're smaller files, so follow smaller file sizes. So those tend to appear first, and then the background image sort of appears a split second later. So if you were to preload those as well, then you'd be ready to go. And you could do that simply by adding them in here. And just because they are, these things look like they're for sound, you could also include ones that are .png files and just give it an ID that you're going to be able to access later. Yep, that's all of that for the preloading. And then I just defined my stage, say that we're going to have a stage in the init function, which gets called first. We have we set the stage equal to a Create.js stage like we had been doing. And then this line is the one that's a little bit different in that we're adding an event listener to when the mouse is clicked down on the stage. And if that happens, click down, then we run this handle click function. And the handle click function, well, two things here. The handle complete, which is when this preload is done, is supposed to play our win sound. So this is how you play a sound. You just say createjs.sound.play, and then you give it the ID of the file that you loaded into the queue. So this one is supposed to work when the preload is done loading, but it often isn't now because Chrome is saying, wait, I'm not going to play anything until a user interacts with something on this canvas, so that I know that someone's going to want sound. So the website just doesn't automatically start blaring sound at you. And then the other one, the handle click function here, is set up that when the mouse is clicked, which is a user interaction, so it does work the first time out, that it plays the bell sound by doing createjs.sound.play and the bell is the ID that was defined up here. So first of all, I want to check and see, are there any questions related to that? Anything that, that basic structure that isn't clear or doesn't make sense? Okay, yep, nice. Yep, so I think that's the basic thing. Remember, preloading and then playing back the sounds at an appropriate point. So for example, this line, create.js sound.play bell, if you had everything else the same and then you move this into your check collisions function, so that, and then when there was a collision, just like you might remove an object during the collision or something like that, you would have this create.js.sound.play line, and it would start playing that sound. So the other thing that I wanted to explore here a little bit is the idea of how we might make it so that we get around the problem that we're having, which is that it doesn't want to play a sound until there is a user interaction. So the way that I might think of doing that is by having the easiest way in my mind is have some sort of a start screen that's just, it could be just an image that you made in Photoshop and whatever. It could even be made in the text editor and just have some words, as long as you're able to export it as an image file. And have that, you would get that displayed right at the very beginning. And then when the when the handle complete happens, so when you've preloaded all your files, you might display some text that says, ready, click to begin. And then when you click to begin, all that disappears, and then your game starts. Yeah, it's also kind of a nice, it's more expected that you would load up a page and then have something that you click into to begin a game, rather than you just load the page and, oh, I'm already playing, I gotta figure out the controls, I gotta start moving around and play catch up. So that's there's a really detailed version of that kind of an approach in the project 1.5 tutorial code, which looks sort of like this. But I want to also, feel free to look through that as an example, but I want to sort of build up one from scratch here in a pretty minimal fashion, hopefully one that might be a little bit more easy to implement on your projects. So let's think through this a tiny bit. So what I want to do is create a, I want to, when I initialize things, I want to start loading in my files, and then we're going to have something after the init that gets us ready, ready to go. So we're going to have our init that starts preloading, and then once it's done preloading, then we're going to be able to put something up that says, okay, start our game. So I'm going to simplify things a little bit here by starting to put our preloader into our init function. So it's going to get called once we've defined our defined our stage and everything, and we initialize it. Okay, great. I'm going to take away this event listener for now. I'll just comment it out, and I'm going to move it to somewhere else a little bit later, because we don't want people to start clicking yet because sounds haven't loaded yet. So, but what I do want to add is I want to come in here and add to our stage, and I want to create a new thing, a new image. So we'll say up here var start screen, and then we can say start screen equals new create JS dot bitmap, and it's going to be from something that I don't have currently, but let's just say it would be an images slash start screen dot png. And then we would add that to our stage. My stage dot add child start screen. And then we would also need to, one time while we're still here in our init function, we're going to need to do the update mystage.update so that it will update and display that start screen. Okay, so this is the idea. We have our init function that is going to just do a splash static screen. And then when our sounds are all preloaded, so our start screen would show name of game. It might show, yeah, any controls or other info that you want at the beginning. Then, when everything is loaded, we'll do this handle complete function. And in the handle complete function, what we want to do is we want to add text that says click anywhere to begin. Ready to go. Click anywhere to begin. Okay, so something like that. We want to add that text on when it's complete. And then we also want to remove the start screen. And actually, no, we don't. We want to just click, have this response that's going to click anywhere. And when that is the case, then we're going to go to something else that's going to remove the screen and play sounds and start the game. So for the click anywhere to begin on here, we could say we can add an event listener to the start screen. And what that means is that if you click on the start screen, that image, if you click on that, it will then listen and behave based on that. I'm going to do that rather than clicking anywhere on the stage, because if you click anywhere on the stage, even after that start screen is gone, if you keep clicking, it might keep trying to reinitialize that thing. So instead, I'm going to say, so we're going to add event listener to the start screen. So that will happen in this handle complete. And I think instead of handle complete, if we say it's something else, we could say it's like, we will say files preloaded. Files are preloaded. And it's like, what are we going to do when the files are preloaded? There we go. So let's do these two things in here. So we're going to have a ready text. Let's put it up there, and then we say ready text is going to get new create JS dot, I think it's text. Someone can correct me if you know. And then there's going to be the text, which is going to be something like ready to go. Something like that. And then it had something like, oh, what does it have? It has font size and color, but I don't remember in which order. So let's take a look real quick. So I'm going to find, there we go. Create JS text. And hopefully this gives us a quick, easy answer. There we go, new create JS text, hello world, font size, and font and color. Okay, great, so that's what I'll use. Paste text, that's looking good. I'll just use whatever color and size they had there. And then you can position that ready text dot x equals, I'll just say 400, and position it on the y. Y equals 400, something like that. We'd style that, make it nicer. But there we go. That, and then we need to add it to the stage. So a lot of this stuff is sort of going back to stuff that we did maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, but all those good refreshers. Ready text. So it should add it to the stage. And we also need to update. And typically we normally haven't been having to add this update function all over the place before, because we have it happening every frame when we get into the game loop. But so far, we're doing everything so far before we get to that game loop. We're setting up situations that are going to be useful before you get to the game loop. So each time we get to the next stage, we want to make sure that what's there gets displayed. Okay, so then the other thing we need to do is get away. So we go from this start screen to files are ready, then now to actually start the game. And so I'm going to set up this event listener. So what I'm going to do is say start screen dot add event listener. Oops. And the listener is going to be listening for, I forget if it's stage mouse down. Maybe it's a different thing. Let's check. Because there are lots of different options of types of events that you can be listening for. And so JavaScript, create JS, event listener on image. Let's see if there's a good. Adding event to image in easel.js. There we go. Let's see if there's a good solution here. Stack Overflow. You can add event listeners in event.js as follows. So you have an image, you add an event listener, and then when the click, you do on click. Okay, great. That's what I was looking for, is that click, rather than, so those things are sort of named features, but sometimes finding exactly where that, what are the named features can be a little tricky. So I'll copy that, come in here, paste that in, and we're going to be looking for the click. Get rid of that. All my quotations in the right way. Is that, there we go. Okay, so the next thing I just need to do is I need to then, instead of on click, I'm going to say, let's see, what's that next function is going to start the game, basically. Start game. And I'll get rid of this as well for now. All right, so hopefully you guys are kind of following along. And I'll post, once I save this, I'll post up a copy on the chat here, and also post it up to Moodle. So the files have been preloaded. We're ready to go. We're listening for a click. When that start screen is clicked on, then we're going to run this start game function. Okay, so function, and sometimes when you do because what we're really doing is creating a series of states, and when you get into that, making states, you end up having oftentimes finding you have to have 2 or 3 more little stages along the way to really explicitly do all the different things that we're looking for, to be able to get it, display it, take it away, get the next thing ready, and then go into your game loop. So our start game function is going to do a few things. We're going to want to say, remove the start screen. And I guess we have done that when we removed targets. MyStage.remove child start screen. So we're going to take that image away. And then what's next? We're going to need to then start the game loop happening. So for that, let me see if there's a good example here that I can just copy paste. When you have your set the ticker and all that. Event listener, ticker, check app state. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, it's similar, but here what we do is, so when we start the game, then we're going to set our frame rate. I'll just hard code it in here so I don't have to do that. I'll say it's 60 frames a second, and also create our ticker that has on the tick, we're going to run our game loop. And finally, now we're getting to the point where we have our game loop, which in this thing, it hasn't been defined, but in yours, it should be game loop. My stage dot update and all the other stuff that you have in your game loop would happen there. Okay, so let's see. The other things we wanted to do is we wanted part of the whole reason for doing this was getting it so that when you then click on that, that activates the audio engine and you can actually play your sounds when you want to. So when you click, you could have your background sound start as well. So I'll add that in here. And then this is happening. Yeah, great. Okay, so that sort of does it. So let me save this as something else. Save as, and this is going to be sound demo with start screen. So as I'm doing this, please feel free to shout out any questions that you have regarding what I just did here, and I will share the file with you shortly. Let's see, sound. Where's that stuff? Sorry, I'm having a file management snafu here. It's not working on it. Well, I'll just save it here and then we'll move from there. Okay, so let me post what we have here so you guys can get a copy. So start screen. Okay, cool. So now let me figure out how we can test it and see if there's any real issues that are going on with it. Okay, I'm going to put a copy in here. And I'm going to resend because you might have some issues if that wasn't didn't have an HTML extension on it. So this next one should have a HTML extension. So if you had a problem opening that first one, the second one theoretically should work better. Okay, so now let me see if I can just post this somewhere so we can see. I've been having some issues, as I know some other people have, with CyberDuck intermittently. So, but we'll see if it's gonna happen for us this time. I'm just gonna quit out of. And restart CyberDuck here. And if it gives me a little hiccup today or right now, I will post it up onto my personal webpage, which tends to work a bit better. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to take this whole sound and create.js thing. I'm going to try and put it into here. Whoa. Why did that try and go to? My apologies here. And if that's an issue for me right now, I'm just going to I'll show the local version of it. Why don't I work on that while that's trying here? So let me just try and pull this up in Chrome, and then we'll see at least what we can see, what errors we're getting, what funky typos or anything I messed up in here. I know one thing that we'll have is that it can't find a file named start screen because I didn't make that. Okay, so can't find that. Access cross origin for the audio. It wants it wants to be online to run that preloader. And then it can't find start screen. And then it's not going to draw because it's not finding the files probably. Okay, so let me I'll find an image that I can just use as my stand-in start screen. PNG. Okay, let's just take, whoa, all sorts of stuff here. Sure, I'll take that. I don't know who made that or where it's from, but for right now, I'll take that one as my example images. And I'm going to just name it then start screen. Okay, great. And now refresh. I should have less errors, which I do. And it displayed my start screen. Okay, great. And then let's see if I click, what happens. Yeah, clicking on images, it likes you to be loaded up onto CyberDuck as well. So let's do another try and see if I can get stuff uploaded here. Have others been having continued problems with CyberDuck, or is it seem to start working more smoothly for you, or WinSCP or whatever FTP protocols you've been using. Let's try my other one. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me try doing it here. I'm going to create a new folder. I'll create it. I'll just say okay. And then inside here, I'm going to push those files that we need. So I need. Okay, that's good. That's more promising. Let's see if this is. It's gone. Let's try the images too. And the JS, push milk. Okay, well, it looks like that stuff's happening. Oh, there goes the login problem again. Why? Go. Uh-oh. Is that file really 20? Oh no. That start screen I just randomly found was 27 megabytes, which is not what I'm wanting. I'm not wanting something that large. Let's see if I can delay that upload. Well, while it's doing it, let me find another start screen that I can use that's less large. Because I'm just wanting it as a placeholder image for us here. Sure. Strange. All these things you just like if you ever just search like what is that image doing there? Okay. Okay. There we go. I have a much smaller start screen. I'm going to have to push in here. But I'm not sure if I can get this to stop its upload. No, apparently not. anyone knows a shortcut, let me know if there's something to stop that or upload. But in any case, let me get the file up and we'll move on. Thanks for your patience with all this stuff. So I go to davidbethel.com/EMDA203 sound/ what was it called? Sound demo start screen. Sound demo start screen.html. And looks like it at least found the right file, so that's good. And see where we're at. It's probably trying to display that image that it's still loading, so it's giving us a problem. Okay. Well, while this is all this messiness is happening here, let me know in the chat if there's other questions that you have or other things that you want to see about making possible for your games, or if there's any issues or things that you want to debug together, because I'm happy to do that. And otherwise, I'm just slowly uploading 10 more megabytes of image that we're not going to be using. Oh well. Let me check in here. I'll look at the sources, make sure it's the right stuff. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. Oh, look at that. Stop. There's the stop button. Yay. Okay. Finally, of course, I found it with only like 4 megabytes left to go. But now I know something I didn't know before. So we're going to come in and put in images here and then overwrite. Okay, so the trick is look at the top of the transfers thing, and there's a stop feature there. Okay, so I'm just going to double check in here and take a quick look. We got our images, start screen, we got JavaScript stuff in there, we got sounds that I may or may not use in this demo. Okay, that's everything we need for this little demo. Okay, so now we can come back here, let's reload and see what's happening with our start screen. So nothing's happening. What's up with that? Let me, oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So that displayed that. That's good. So now what I'm expecting to happen is that our text should appear at some point. But is it? So let me just find, what was that? What do we call it? We called it a ready text, I believe. I called it ready text. Yeah. And let's just sort of find out a little bit about that. So I'm going to come here and use the console and just type in ready text and see what it has to say about that. Is it anything yet? It looks like it's a text. It says ready to go. Click anywhere to begin. Is it Does it have an X and Y position? Has an X and Y position. And has it been added to the stage? Well, I'm not sure. Let's see in our code what happened to that process. So we have our preload happens here. When files are preloaded, then it comes in here and creates that. So we know that our files have been preloaded, and this got pushed in, and it should have added the child to the stage. And then my stage update, it should update it. Okay, let's come back out here and see what happens. Let's see if I just click this, if it at least reacts to that. Okay, so it gave us an error, which is good when I clicked on something. Set FPS is not a function. Just ticker set FPS. Create JS ticker. That's going to be when we start our game. So let's look at our more recent versions of that, or what we've been doing. So this is looking at back in another example. Oh, I think I know why. Okay, so let me change this. So I was using a different version of the create.js library. So let's use the one we want, this one instead. Save that. Then I'm going to come back to the CyberDuck and re-upload the HTML file so we can debug it again. Overwrite, yes. Now refresh. Okay, still not seeing my text, but let's see if I click what happens. I don't think that did a full refresh. This is the fun debugging. So it's still not pushing in the latest version of the code here. Why not? Let's copy. Did I not save it here? Save. We got that all saved up. Okay. Weird. Okay, well, I'm going to do it one last way that I got to try. My guess is that CyberDuck itself is sort of must be keeping that version in its cache somehow. So I'm going to push in a new version there this way. Refresh. Whoa. Anyone found a foolproof way to get it to reload the right thing? We have let me double check here. We're doing the same thing. So I have sound demo with start screen. Let me reveal it in Finder so we're looking at the same. Oh, that's the problem. Okay. So the problem was that I was working in my editor on a different version than the one that was here in the project folder. So I'm going to deal with that. Come over here like that. So just get my stuff in order here. I'm gonna open this with Visual Studio Code. Okay, and get rid of the other one. Now we should be able to push up this. Let's check it now. Hey, thank goodness. Okay, it works. So now let's see what happens if I click. Okay. Well, some good news. So I have the sound is working and it removed that start screen when I clicked on it. So a very small win, but that's what I wanted. So I'm going to mute that for now. So the last thing I want to check on here then is just figuring out what happened to that text. Why can't we see the text? So let's look in here when it creates our text. Here it is, it positions it. Let me check this dimensions because the file I'm working with is not necessarily, there it is, that's the problem. So the canvas size on this is actually a small canvas size. So it was just off the screen down below. So if I make this 640 by 640, save that, and then push it up and try again, hopefully we'll see our text. These are all common things. It's off the stage, the file's the wrong file that I was working with, CyberDuck is being hiccupy. It's all just kind of part of the dance of making it happen. Okay. So now, great, okay. Cool. So it displays it. I would want to style it better, you know, position it more, or position it better. Although it's kind of cool style-wise, by the random color that was on that tutorial that I copied and pasted from, very closely matches the orange inside of this robot model. But anyway, it says ready to go, click anywhere to begin, or it would say that. And then if I click on the image, then the sound starts, which was muted. Sound started, good. And then the only other part is that when you do that, we want to remove that text. So that we didn't do. So let's just clean that up so we have a nice fully working demo there. So we remove the start screen, but we also wanted to remove the text, which is ready text. And we should be able to do that just with a comma, say ready text. So we're removing both the start screen and the ready text. So I'm gonna save, push it up. Overwrite it, come back to Chrome, refresh. I'll turn the audio back on. It's ready to go. Click anywhere to begin. And both of those things disappeared now. Great. So that's working. Let me, I'll post this up well, I'll throw the file over right now, but then I'll also post up with the whole folder of that to the Moodle page in just a minute. Or maybe I can do that here as well to yours. But it's because it's bugging me, I want to put the text up and further to the left. So we're going to make it be like 50 and 100. So it looks like at least I thought about what was happening here. Okay, there you have it. And then I can click anywhere and it starts up. Cool. So let me package that up here in a way. Compress. And oops, file. Okay, I'll send it there. It might take a little bit to send through the chat, but I'll also post it onto the Moodle page. All right, so a little bit of hiccups in there, but we got through it, and we got that start screen idea to work, and also integrating, so then once you finally click, all of your audio is going to work exactly as you want it to. Right, so enough of that. What other questions? Are there questions or things you want to get working, or things that aren't working that you need to work, etc., that I can help you with? Or is everyone feeling pretty good about where you're at this point? Okay, nice. Yeah, good. Glad to hear it, Justin. Hope that you are in a good place. Let us know if questions come up. Any specific settings for our images? Yeah, good question. The main thing that you want to think about with images are just not making the file sizes larger than they need to be. So with the file size, so if we looked in here, like at this one, this is some of Miles's stuff. We have like our hero. You'll see that it's a 4 kilobyte, so it's a very small file size, and the image size itself is probably I forget if these are probably like 64 by 64 or 128 by 128 pixels. So something in that sort of range, if it's going to be a small character that moves around, is great, because you don't want it to be a huge, like you could design it at a really large size so you get all the detail of what you want, but then export it reduced down to the size that you actually want it displayed. For the background, like if you're going to have a static single background image, if your canvas size is whatever 1280 by 960 or something like that, you would want the image size to be that 1280 by 960. So just exactly the size that you want it displayed. It's fine to rescale things down in code, but just know that it's having to load more memory in than it's actually using when it's displaying it. So that's the main thing. The other things just to be aware of is make sure that you are exporting them as a PNG file. So a PNG file is going to have the possibility of having transparency. So you see when I open this up, there's kind of the gray background here, which is just from my operating system, but there really is a square that's around this. It's just invisible because it's a PNG. If it was a JPEG file, JPG, then it would be a white square, and you would see that white square moving around all over the place when it moved. So those are the main things. Use PNGs with transparency, and do just the size that you want it to display as far as images. Yeah, and I can step back through the sound again here in just a second. And like I said, I have the lecture stuff for that on Monday. I'll get that posted right after our class. Then I did go over that at the beginning of our session today, but I will go look at it again. But do please let me know if there's any other questions that are pressing. So that the demo that I was just working with has all the sound stuff that you really need in it. And the key things, or actually, and for CC, are there any particular questions about sound, or just is it about the coding to get it to play, or how to find, or what types of sounds to use, or what is there a more specific question within that? Feel free to point me in the right direction. Um, but in general, the two main things that you have to do with sound are preload the sounds, which is this, okay, coding and what type, great. So on the coding side, um, the two main parts is you need to have a preloader of some sort. So that's gonna load in the files in advance so it's ready to roll. And that's what this is. And so this was originally from that, from the demo on the Moodle page, which is, and it's B background and on-click sounds was what this one started out as. So you can just copy and paste this part for the preloader, and that will load whatever files, and you just put in this manifest. You would add elements. So these are each an object that has an ID and a source. And the ID is just going to be what is the name you want to call this later. And then the source is where to find that sound file relative to this file. So put it in a folder named sounds, and then look for a file type or file name called wind fades. And I have this funky type, which is a .ogg, which is, you probably don't have to worry about it as much anymore. Mainly, I would say look for MP3 files. If you are creating them, export it to an MP3 format. If you are finding something that you want to use, just find one that's in an MP3 format already. And with the rest of this stuff in place, it should be able to load it and run it. And then the only other thing is that occasionally you might want to have the data element as a part of these, and that defines how many instances of that sound could be played at once. So if you're thinking like a collision sound, or like a gunshot sound or a cannon sound or something that's going to happen multiple times and might overlap with each other, you want to put in a data number that's going to be high enough so that as fast as you expect anyone to be able to make that sound happen, like clicking or whatever it is that causes it to happen, that they'll have enough instances of that sound to play. Otherwise, if you don't have anything, it just loads in one and it'll play that sound. And then if you call for another instance of that sound, it will either not play it because you'll just run out of instances, or it will truncate the previous one and then start playing the next one. Depends on which settings you have. And I go into that a little more detail in the lecture notes that you can find under week 9. But that's that. And then when you want to play the sound, the code is just this. This is the most basic way. So whenever you're in your code, you get to the point when you want the sound to start, you say createjs.sound.play, and then give it the ID that was defined in the preloader up here. So here we're calling wind, and I defined wind up here, up top. The easiest website I recommend is freesound.org for finding them. You do have to create an account for it, which is slightly annoying, but it's a nice one. They don't send you spam. There's no issues sort of once you've created that. And it's a user uploaded sounds. Let's see if I can log in. Great, I remember me. And you can just search for anything you want. Just in the search. So if you wanted to say like I want a bleep sound. Then you can go in, find things. You can limit them by type. So if you wanted, oh, I just want MP3 because I don't want to have to, you could download things in other formats and then convert it to an MP3. But if you're just looking for the easy grab and go, limit it by type MP3 because that's ready to go for that. Of course, preview everything. See if it, and you can preview it in here. Hopefully the sound isn't going to be too loud for any of you on these things. Okay, so if is that what you want? Maybe if this other one's
Audio Jungle.
there we go.
Audio Jungle.
There you go. Whatever that is. So you can find a whole bunch of interesting things. Some of them might be like if you wanted just a single beep, you'd really like this one, but you just wanted a single one. You might have to then take it and then do a little editing in an audio editor. But I'm sure if you just dig, I mean, there's 227 bleep sounds, so you're probably going to be able to find a bleep that's works decently for what you want. The other thing you can look for on some of these things is they have packs. If you search down here on the right hand, you see these packs. Sometimes, not always, but so users might upload not just a single sound, but a series of sounds that are meant to go together and work together. Um, and in my experience, the people that tend to do that tend to be posting a little bit higher quality work. Not always, but often. So there might be someone that just throws up a random sound and it's just, the sound quality is not very good or it's not very well crafted, that kind of thing. The people who put up packs tend to be a little bit more careful, but not always. So you might find a pack of sounds that are kind of related that might be useful. For example, here, desktop or game sounds, event sounds pack 3 and 4. Let me just try one of those. And then you can find that this user created a whole bunch of different things in here. So it's just good to note on all of these, the attribution. So you see the little circle on these that has in this case, a person. So this means that it's Creative Commons licensing attribution. So it means that you're free to use it however you want in any form, but they would like you to include their name along with it. So if you had a credits page for your game, you would want to include include sounds created by B. Lamerix from freesound.org. So that kind of a thing is what's implied there. If you want, you can also search on Freesound for ones that are public domain, which means you don't even have that attribution requirement. You can just use it however you want. You don't even need to say who it came from. So anyway, this is a pack of sounds that's intended for games. So you could play through and see if there's things that are useful for the game here. Yeah, might be okay. There might be some useful things. Might be some things that are so-so. Anyway, it's just sorting through, finding what you want. There's a whole bunch of also, so there's a fair amount of generated sounds like that. There's also a lot of, there's a whole bunch of natural, like nature sounds, nature recordings, stuff like that. So there's all sorts of things you could find on here. Wolves, etc. It's a good place to find sounds. Yeah, so that one is an okay, is like a nice wolf sound, but the quality of the file is not very good. I heard a lot of sort of aliasing. I don't know if you could hear that weirdness. So I'd want to move on to the next one for my tastes, trying to find something else that might work more appropriately. Anyway, that's my sort of go-to sound source. If I have a chance, I might also post a link to. I have a huge database of samples I'll take a look and see if it seems useful for games, and I can post a link to that. The problem is it's huge. It's like 13 gigabytes. So depending on your internet connection, it might take a month to download it. But that's a possibility I can try and post up as well. Good. Other questions or things that aren't working, or things I can help with, or anything else? General size of discontent. No? Okay. Well, feel free to be in touch. I'm happy to answer any questions on this. I'll get it looks like I think no, the zip file still hasn't gone through on the chat here. So I'll post that. That will be under, let me get it over here so you can see. I'll post that here just under this week 5. I'll have another demo version of that will be accessible to you. So there you go. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and good luck with working on this. We'll be doing more on Monday and Wednesday of next week. What it would be great to do, I think we're going to be meeting in sections again, and it'd be great to sort of demo where you're at with the games, so we can screen share or file share and take a look at it at sort of each person, see where you're at, and give you feedback and see how we can sort of step it up, make the next cool things happen, and so that you're all feeling comfortable and confident to have your version of your game done by a week from Friday. And that's posted to a forum, so that everyone can share and see and comment and give good feedback on that. All right, so I'll go ahead and end it for now, but stay in touch, and hope you guys are doing okay. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.